Let's talk about the rest of the New York Knicks and their 24-25 NBA season. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and Monster Island is actually a peninsula. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. Hit the thumb and double bang. Be an everyday, listen every day. Live NBA draft show, 25th of June, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you there. I know I will. We're talking Knicks. We're talking under 28s on the Knicks, and they're not bereft of young talent. There are some guys who are still relatively young. We covered a lot of the guys in the earlier show. Towns, Bridges, Brunson, Josh the Hitman Hart. But there are guys here that we're going to talk about. And one of those is the Jedi himself, scarf-wearing legend, OG Anunoby. Anunoby came across last season from the Toronto Raptors, or the season before from the Raptors mid-year. Had an injury at the end of the season. And we saw some flashes from him. He definitely improved from his time in the Raptors versus where he was in the Knicks. In the Knicks, he was better. And there was some hope that we'd get some really strong stuff out of Anunoby this season. And I think we did for a large portion of the season. We got some really good stuff. And he's developed into a really solid and really good player. He's someone I've always been very high on as a player and as a prospect, and I think we're starting to get that delivered now. His ADP was 80 in the preseason. He ended up, to me, 64th. OG's Yahoo 9cat totals would say 21st. Again, no. But like with all of these Knicks players where we don't know who the coach is, 37 minutes a night seems rather fanciful. Rather fanciful. The thing that could offset it for Anunoby is that what if the offense is changed to less Brunson ball pounding and the 19.6 usage jumps up? To be fair to Tom Thibodeau, and many would say that I'm not, but to be fair to Tom Thibodeau, the second half of the season, we started to see a very different OG Anunoby. He started to be more used offensively. His shooting was crazy. Look at that, 35th per game post-deadline. He ended up averaging, 18, 5, and 2? So not an assist guy, not a rebound guy. But what he is a steals guy. 1.5 steals. What he is a blocks guy, 0.9 blocks. He shot 48 and 81. These are bang average numbers. What he was able to do in the second half of the season, very clearly, was impressive. He changed his, I don't know if he changed his game, but he became this I don't even know what the right term is. He was just more of an offensive option. I guess that's the easy way to say it. His usage, if we use the All-Star splits, I can look at that on Basketball Reference. 18 pre-All-Star, 23 post-All-Star. Efficiency, the same. Minutes, half a minute more. But he averaged 5 extra points a game. There was just a change in what they did. Now, we all know that down the stretch, Jalen Brunson wasn't there. He'd sprained his ankle. And OG is the one that stepped up, not necessarily Bridges or Towns. So, we remember that. So this is great. The second half was awesome from him. He's an unbelievably good defender. I love him as a player. But that spike, which is a part of the overall season numbers, was largely, not entirely, largely due to Jalen Brunson's absence. Because Brunson was absent. He wasn't there down the stretch. He didn't play in a lot of those games post-trade deadline, so we're able to see OG get a 5 percentage point bump in usage. And he handled it unbelievably well. And could you, as a coach, use that as rationale to give him more usage in other games? Sure. Yeah. But it doesn't mean it will happen. It doesn't mean the coach will do that. It doesn't mean that that'll be something that goes on. Brunson missed from the 7th of March through to the 5th of April. So a whole month in that post-trade deadline period, which is only 2 months anyway. So that big jump from OG, where again, he rolled as a top 20 guy for periods, was great. But we all know that it's very tough for that to hold at that level. It's very tough. And you do rely upon low volume stuff with him, steals and blocks, and you hope that the percentages stick, and I think they will. So when we're talking about where OG is, and he's about to turn 28, he's 27 still, we're talking about OG. I think we got a really safe mid-round player in the 60s, 70s, that sort of area. But we also understand with this sort of a guy that there is some fluctuations. Like, I'm not going to say that those steal and block numbers are actual peak, because he can actually be better than that. So it's not like, okay, well, there's only one way to go, and that's down. He could go down, but he could get 1.8 steals. He could get 1.1 blocks. What we do know is sitting in that 70 zone is that if there is a long-term injury to somebody, he's willing and capable of stepping up into that larger role. And we did see a very different OG Anunoby in that stretch of the regular season than we'd really seen at any point in his career. I don't think we'd ever seen OG be that forceful and that aggressive offensively. The thing that happened, though, is like in the playoffs and when Bronson came back, a lot of it scaled back down. So if we can look at start of the playoffs, 14 usage, 22, 15, 15, 18, 25, 14, 10, 15, 19, 26, 20, 16, 12. All right, not great. Steals, blocks, still going to beat it. So realistically, I guess I've got him 64th over the course of the season, and those numbers there in front of you, I think it's reasonable to suggest that he can be that sort of a guy again. What we don't really know about is Mitchell Robinson, because Robinson has had ankle injuries for a long time, and then came back at the end of the previous season and didn't look right and sort of re-hurt himself, and then had the surgery and was out for a very long time. He was a non-factor for most fantasy leagues, and when he came back, he just wasn't really playing. He's 27 now. He averages 17 minutes a game in his 17 games. He was still the 168th ranked player, so bear that in mind. How does he do it? Well, it's on the back of three things. Blocks, or to be honest, steals were really good for him. Field goal percentage, and rebounds. He's a great rebound guy. He's a very good rim contest guy. If your league has offensive rebounds, he's awesome at that. He's a low usage player, and that will never change. The thing that we look at is that in the playoffs, he really was an important piece of what the Knicks did. His minutes went up. He was playing mid-20s, and he started the final 4 games of their playoff run against the Pacers. So, in the past, when Robinson has moved into those larger minute roles, his block rate has dropped. It didn't really happen that much in the playoffs. His last 5 games in the playoffs, 3 blocks, 1 block, 0, 2, 2. He's not going to take any shots. He might be single-digit usage, although without Tom Thibodeau there, the king of the low-usage center, maybe he pushes to 13, 14 usage. Could he be a 9.12 rebound, 1.7 block, 65% field goal guy? Yes. Do you have to be very cautious about that sort of player in fantasy because of the gigantic hit you take in the points category? Also, yes. And in his free throws. The thing that is going to be interesting about Mitchell Robinson is, does that steal number hold? Because 0.9 steals in 17 games is a ridiculously high number. Considering, like, in the past, he is not really... Oh, actually, you know what? I say that, but his per 36 steal number last season, the 23-24, was actually pretty similar. So maybe he has, because in the past it had never been that high. But he did improve it again. So maybe he can do that. I do think that a fully healthy Robinson, which we currently have, will impact this team. They're the 2 big things that are going to impact the Knicks. It's going to be the new coach, and it's going to be Robinson. Because if Robinson is a 25-minute player, Hart can't do as much. The new coach might reduce other guys. Towns might get shunted to different positions. And then we're in for a whole re-evaluation of how the players' values sit. Because overall, it would seem relatively clear that what we got from the Knicks was these are the only guys he's going to play, these are the minutes. But all that is gone. So I think Robinson, while I don't think he's going to be able to break out and have this huge fantasy season or anything like that, I do think we'll get a pretty usable 12-team season next season. Points leagues? Probably not. He's not a good points league guy, and he probably needs a lot of things to change to get in there. But in 25 minutes, from a category league perspective, he will be a draftable 12-team league guy, and that impact will be felt across other players in the entire lineup. It might be good for the Knicks, but it'll be bad for other players' individual stats and their overall fantasy appeal. Today's episode is brought to you by Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda. Made for people who love the classic taste of soda but want something that supports their health. I've got my Olipops here. They were delivered to me yesterday and I'm loving it. Just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can. Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that is better for your gut. Olipop flips the script of a traditional soda. You love the taste, you love the nostalgia of it. But a can of regular Coke, 39 grams of sugar. Orange Fanta, 44. Olipop, 2 to 5. And the Oli Smart Blend, which is shown to support digestive and overall health. That is a great digestive fiber that's in there, and there's no artificial sweeteners either. I'm gonna have some more of my grape right now. It's actually really good, man. It's so good. And you know that it's not doing your body harm. It's actually doing something good for your gut. Get a free can of Olipop. Just buy any 2 cans in store and they'll reimburse you for one of them. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and to find Olipop near you. That is drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's talk about more of these under 28-year-old New York Knickerbockers. We've talked OG, we talked Mitch Robinson, and that's where it starts to get a little bit more bare. Now, we got some good opportunities and good scenarios and good production at times from Juice McBride this season. I thought we could have and should have gotten more. McBride was one of those players that, given how absolutely thin this roster was, I thought there was a chance that he would just play 28 minutes a night. And that might have been enough to just hold him on your roster, understanding that if 1, 2, 3 of the starters went down, any of them, he would step into 36 minutes a night. But it didn't really happen that way. He ended up playing 25 minutes a night in 64 games. He was 214th. He shot the ball pretty well, 37% from 3, and he's worked to be a good shooter. He's a pretty good defensive guy usually. Except this season, that didn't really happen. And that's the concern. In the past, we would have hoped he got really good steal numbers. 55th percentile on deflections is disappointing. 17 usage is disappointing. He did average 3 assists, so that's not bad. But I think we saw a little bit of I'm not sure that he can actually be a point guard. And they had Payne and they had DeLon Wright. McBride is a really useful player still, but he didn't really show usage rampability. The passing was good without being great, and the defensive stuff, which floated a lot of his game in the past, wasn't there. He also shot horribly on his 2s, and he was one of those guys, again, that had a lot of batch shooting. And what I mean by that is that he would have the game and he'd go 6 of 6 from the field, 6 of 6 from 3, and everyone would get really excited, which I think happened for him on opening night. I think that happened, and everyone was really excited about it. But, yeah, it leads to overall okay numbers, 37 from 3, 40 from the field is not good. But those big games cover off a lot of the terrible ones. It might have been the opposite. Maybe he was like 0 of 10 from the field or something. I'm hoping not. I remember something weird happened with him. Maybe I should look it up. But there was, he's a good rotation player, Juice McBride. He is a serviceable 6th man. He's a player that you can have him play multiple positions. I think he can do a little bit more usage-wise and defensively, McBride. And again, the Tom Thibodeau thing is the question mark. Was Tibbs holding him back, or was McBride not useful enough? I'm looking up that opening night thing. What actually happened in that game? Oh yeah, 22 points on 80% shooting. That's right. And then he went 75% the next game. Then he went 50% the next game. It was a great start. And then 38, 33, 0 of 9. Yeah, and he ended up shooting 40% overall for the season. So there was some excitement earlier on, but it obviously didn't last. And the thing that we hoped would float the value was the steals, and it didn't really happen that way. He's a guy that had really good steal numbers in college. I'm just going to look at his per 36 steal numbers. He had that 1 year, year 2 in the NBA where he was at 1.8 steals per 36, but it has dropped. So I'm getting to that point here with McBride where I'm not sure that the steals ever come like that. I have not liked Precious Achiuwa as a player from before he entered the NBA. I didn't like him as a draft prospect. I thought this was a guy that does not know his own role or ability and tries to do way too much. He thinks he's a 3 when he's a backup 5. I didn't like him in Miami. I didn't like him in Toronto. I didn't like him with New York. And guess what? I still don't like him. I don't think he is a good player. He will be one of those players who, again, I will very, very clearly acknowledge that I think he's made some improvements. His rim protection numbers are much better. 0.7 blocks. But can't hit free throws. Doesn't hit threes. Field goals are not very good. Never passes. He's not a very good rebounder. A low usage guy. 225th ranked player. The advanced metrics saw him decline a lot. I don't think he's good. He's a backup 5, probably a third string 5 to me, who, and most players are like this. If someone's hurt and he played 37 minutes a night, you'll do enough to be a fantasy relevant guy. But you'll always be looking at that player from a real life perspective and going, yeah, we can't have him doing this. We need somebody else in there. We do not have him locked down as a core starter for us. And no one would think that anymore for Achiuwa. I'm very certain of that. I think a lot of his flaws have been exposed a lot, and he will never get a chance outside of multiple injuries to be an NBA starter. I don't think. Look, at the beginning of his season was okay. 167th ranked player in category leagues, pre-deadline. When Mitchell Robinson was out, he was the backup center. But also remember, he wasn't good in that role. He struggled. His fantasy game is not appealing. He's just not a player that I've ever liked. And I've got no reason to start doing that now. I don't know what I can tell you about Kevin McCullar Jr. because I believe, maybe someone fact check me on this, I think he might be the player who was on a roster at the beginning of the season that was the last to see the court outside of injured guys. He just didn't play. He played 4 games, 7 minutes a game, 462nd ranked player, 1.5 points. I don't know what to tell you about any of this stuff. He's already 24. He was a draft prospect I didn't really like. An older guy whose shooting could be iffy. I wasn't really trusting it. I think he's a very good defender. And again, is it because Tom Thibodeau didn't play him? Or it's because he's no good? The thing that's frustrating about this for McCullar is that he entered the season with an injury. That is true. Right? But not only did he play under 30 minutes in the NBA, he only played 13 games in the G League, 28 minutes a night, averaging 11 points. He did have 1.6 steals there and shot 22% from 3. I think he's a good defender. I think he's bad at everything else. So while I'm not going to tell you that Tibbs always does the right thing, I don't think McCullar is it. I don't think McCullar is an NBA rotation player. I would have liked to see more than 28 minutes of action of him, which is a predictable outcome playing on this team. But I know he's a rookie. I don't really see it. I also don't really see it with Tyler Kolek, and again, I never really did. One of those guys that I got into arguments with the Knicks fans in particular about during the preseason because, he had some good Summer League games, but the good Summer League games were like 2 points, 10 assists. And he was, when I said, the Knicks don't have any depth at all, and they were like, we've got Tyler Kolek. Tibbs will never play this man. And he didn't. 7 minutes a game. He averaged 1.7 assists, which in 7 minutes is actually really good. The passing volume for what he did, is high. But didn't shoot well from the field. Didn't shoot well. He shot fine from the line, but not well, not an elite shooter. I think there is a chance, he's 24 again, an older rookie, there is a chance he can turn into a solid backup point guard in the NBA. But like McCullar, he didn't play in the G League. He was just rotting on the bench. He played 4 games in the G League. He played 36 minutes. He shot 39% and 28 from 3, but he averaged 10 assists. So what I do think that he is not quite Alfred Payton, because there's a few things different. Alfred Payton's a good rebounder. Kolek is not. Kolek's a pretty good free throw shooter. Payton wasn't. But I don't think that there is any real offensive juice outside of passing for Kolek. I'm not sure he's ever going to be a good enough shooter in the NBA. So while again, he might get opportunities if Payne and Shamet are gone and we see him elevated to be the backup, that is totally possible that happens. And I imagine that if he found 26 minutes a night due to injuries, we would use him in fantasy because he'd probably rack up 8 assists a game. But then you have to balance that look at the way what we got from Isaiah Collier this season, who get a lot of assists, but there were so many negatives in so many other areas that it worked for certain people, but not for other teams. And I don't see Kolek as ever developing into a starter caliber player. I don't think I see Ariel Hukporti developing into a starter caliber player, but I do think that he can develop into a really strong rotation piece. We got a few little moments of Hukporti this season, still, of course, only 9 minutes a game. He averaged 2 and 2 with 0.6 blocks. And 0.6 blocks in 9 minutes is not bad. In fact, it's pretty good. It's 27 minutes, 1.8 blocks. Again, doesn't always work to translate that way. Really good field goals. Solid rebound numbers. He's not a usage guy. Obviously, first percentile offensive load is not good. But he's a good shot blocker. He's a strong rebounder. He sets screens pretty well. I'm not sure that he's ever going to be able to shoot. I don't think he will. I don't think that's going to be his role. But as a reliable backup center who, if pressed to start, you'd feel like okay about, I can see that happening. He had an injury during the season, just when he was starting to sort of establish himself as that backup before Robinson came back, like ahead of Achiuwa. He had 2 blocks a game in 21 minutes in his 7 G League games. Think of the way that we got real value out of a Dem Boner for Philadelphia at the end of the season. If you switched Hukporti and Boner, the teams around, Hukporti would have done, I don't think he's as good as Boner, but I think he would have done similar things in that scenario. So I'm not going to write him off. He's 23. I think he is a legitimate NBA rotation player, Ariel Hukporti. So if I'm talking dynasty value long term, will he ever be a top 150 guy? Probably not, never. Top 250? Yeah, I can see that. Could he have like a 6-year career as a backup? I also think that, like much more than McCullar, much more than Tyler Kolek even. Well, that's debate. No, I think he's actually probably a better longer term prospect than Kolek. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. The NBA playoffs, the NBA finals, the intensity, it's so high. And being in the building for games like that, it's I won't say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity because you can go to those things multiple times, but it's something we all need to go and do. High level, high pressure sporting events are great. And with Game Time, well, you can get rid of a lot of the clutter. You can get rid of a lot of the stress. With killer last minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. The app makes it ridiculously simple to buy these tickets. 2 taps and you're done. You can see your exact view from your seats. Plus, you know that like, if nobody else got you, the Game Time guarantee got you. Can I get an amen? Yeah, you know you're getting the best deal. If you find the better price in the same row and section, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. You can get seats for NFL games for as low as $100. Yeah, exclusive discounts they offer in the Game Time app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, let's take a look at these last few players for the New York Knicks before we wrap them up. Who's next on my list here? I'm going to tell you it's someone who's not going to do much. It's MarJon Beauchamp, a first-round pick of the Bucks a few years ago, who had a couple of opportunities to get some minutes in Milwaukee. It never happened. It never worked. He was shipped off for Kevin McCullar Jr. The Clippers cut him. He ended up in New York. He, for some reason, had a 25 usage this season in the 4 minutes a game that he played. I couldn't even find a photo of him playing in Knicks uniform. I got him playing for the Clippers and for the Bucks. His shooting numbers, 35% is better than we've seen. But, like, I think that as a prospect, he was very flawed. Those flaws have not really been improved upon. Theoretically, he should be a decent enough defensive player, but I don't know that he is. And I do know that, like, there is no chance he has any value in fantasy at any point. The only other guy, we've got 2 more guys to talk about. This next guy has, like, some level of interest for me. And that's Pacome Dadier. I should have probably looked this up, but I know at the start of the season when I was doing Knicks previews, I went, does this man play 50 minutes total for the season? I don't know if I said 50 or if I said 100. He actually was in the rotation early in the season for some reason, playing a couple of minutes. But he ended up playing 6 minutes a night as a first-round pick, 18 games. I'm not here to tell you that Pacome Dadier was ready for big time because I don't think he was. He averaged 1.7 points. He shot 32% from 3. But of course, we're talking about like a 70-minute sample size, which tells us nothing. So Dadier sat on the bench. He's got good size. He's still young. I think he can develop into being a solid steals, maybe threes guy with some okay rebounding. He didn't play a ton in the G League. Played more than Kolek and played more than Hukporti. Played more than McCullar. 32 minutes in the G League. The problem you have there is like under 30 from 3. Only 0.7 steals. 14 points in 32 minutes on a usage of, if I just try and find that usage, 18. That's all bad. He's a long way away. Again, am I going to blame Tom Thibodeau for not playing him? Absolutely not. Because he's not good enough to. You'd hope to get a little bit more information on Dadier here as a first-round pick. maybe we get some more this season. I think we're still probably minimum 2 years away from him even working into being a rotation guy. And I won't say there's much that I saw this season that gave me like a huge level of hope that he's going to turn into something good. Like there's no, I go, oh, that's an interesting standout thing. Oh, maybe he is a shooter. Oh, the defensive stuff. Oh, can he pass? I don't think any of that stuff showed through. It's more about athleticism and size, upside profile that might get you somewhere there. And I'm not really convinced. The last guy is Anton Watson, who barely played for the Celtics, came across to the Knicks and barely played again. So, look, again, we don't really know a huge amount from Watson, who was a late pick in the draft by the Celtics. They signed him to that two-way. A bit of a late riser, I thought, in the draft process last season. Like, he ended up playing, 2 minutes a game for 9 games. All right, that's, unbelievable. That's really, wow. He was the 549th ranked player. The stats are going to be impossible to really judge. I'm going to look at his numbers. I don't even know that he played a single game. Yeah, he didn't even play a single game in the G League for the Knicks. It was all for the Celtics G League team. 30 minutes a night in the G League, 12 points. 65 from the line. 1 steal. Yeah, that's all very bad. Some interesting stuff with him, but he's 24, about to turn 25. So I think that some of that appeal of Anton Watson as a prospect has obviously faded away. And we saw nothing from him this season, and I wouldn't get my hopes up. The only guys I think can, out of these sort of younger guys on the Knicks that you have some hope for is maybe Daddy Hukporti, and Kolek will have some relevance at times. But there's not a lot there to love, I don't think. What you can love is the end of this show. And you can hit the subscribe button on the YouTube video. You can subscribe on the audio side. You can leave comments on both of those as well. And that would be great. And remember, we've got a live draft show coming up on the 25th of June, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I would love to see you there. I'm sure I will. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.